Hello people, today is an exciting update. I want to apologise first for this reflective light. It is very bright, but the best lighting I've got at the moment. And also, if you hear any background noise, it's really windy. The whole house is creaking and stuff is moving everywhere. So, apologies out the way. I have an exciting update and I got my period. If you haven't followed along with my trying to conceive journey, you won't know that I have not menstruated for, menstruated, don't know why that was such a hard word to say, for 900 and something days. I got very close to 1,000 and I'm actually kind of a little bit sad that I didn't hit the 1,000 mark just because it's like a milestone, but also it's not a milestone I wanted to reach. So basically I A, have endometriosis, B, have PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, and it is the insulin resistant version of it. I also have been on Implanon, I've been breastfeeding, I've been pregnant, so a lot has happened since my last period, which was September 15, 2018. The reason I have that date memorized is it's my LMP from when I was pregnant with Hayden, and I also had to wear white pants at I was showing my steer, my male desexed cow at the royal show, and I had to wear white pants on my period in front of a massive crowd of people walking a bull around. So that was fun. I never had regular periods. I often skipped months. It's normal for me to be abnormal because of endometriosis, I assumed. But since having Hayden, I've had a couple of ultrasounds, and the most recent one showed that I had many cysts on my ovaries, in other words polycystic ovaries. Obviously it's very normal to have cysts on your ovaries. It's just another name for follicles. It's a bit hard, and I feel like there's a lot of confusion around cysts on ovaries because females are meant to have cysts on our ovaries. They're called follicles, but follicles and cysts are sort of the same thing. It's just a matter of what is inside them. So for example, my endometrial cysts, which were chocolate cysts, aka filled with endometrial cells and endometrial blood, period blood, those were abnormal because they're not really meant to have period blood in your follicles. They were also the size of an apple, which is abnormal as well. There's a bit of confusion with that, but you're only meant to have so many. I think there's a bit of umming and ahhing over the exact number. Some places I saw said 10, some said 15. I had 20 something on my ovaries. My left one was way worse. That's polycystic ovaries, and there was a good chance I had polycystic ovarian syndrome. One of my blood test results backed up that theory. I can't remember which one. A lot of things were pointing towards polycystic ovarian syndrome. There was also a good chance that it was insulin resistant polycystic ovarian syndrome. So my doctor started me on metformin. I've got videos all about that. If you want to go check them out, I'll try and link them below. At first nothing happened. I didn't have that many side effects. Nothing has been happening. I couldn't tell any different. And then I took a random ovulation test 2 weeks ago, thereabouts, and it was like, it wasn't, with ovulation tests, they're different to pregnancy tests. With pregnancy tests, if there's a second line, you're pregnant. There can be like indent lines and like faint lines that aren't really there, but usually if there's a second line, it means you're pregnant. But with LH tests, there can be a second line and it doesn't mean anything. It's sort of like your LH has to rise and peak, and that's when you're ovulating, and then it comes back down again. Because LH is luteinizing hormone. It's just one of the hormones that helps in the process of getting your little follicle cyst thing ready to burst and release the egg from inside of it. So I had a higher than I've ever had yet LH line. I've been testing since I got my Implanon out pretty much daily, but obviously it's been 9 or so months, so daily has become every second day, every couple of days. I have little bursts where I do it properly and little bursts where I don't, and I just had a burst where I don't. I hadn't tested for almost a week, and then I went and tested and got the strongest line yet. It wasn't a positive, but it was the strongest line yet, and I was like, yes, I might be ovulating soon. And then it got weaker, but I had some pain. I can't remember which side it was on. Anyway, I had some pain in, I think, my right ovary, which I had when I got pregnant with Hayden. I felt ovulation pain. Sometimes I can feel it. I'm not sure if I've always been able to. My endometriosis makes everything painful, and I've only had like 3 periods without my endometriosis being a factor since I had that cut out. And so far I don't think it's grown back. But I had ovulation pain, and I was like, maybe I have ovulated, and I just tested as I was coming down from the peak, and that's why my test is going down. We're trying to have a baby, so me and Luke did the deed, and I worried that we missed it, and apparently we did. I had a little bit of uterus cramping at 6 DPO, or 6 days post ovulation, or DPPO I've been calling it, because I wasn't sure if I ovulated, so I was like 6 days post possible ovulation. And I got all excited because with Hayden it was either 6 or 7 days that I implanted, and I had uterus pain. It was really bad. I thought I was having a really early period. I was so confused. I obviously didn't know I was pregnant at that point. And then within 24 hours of that happening, my boobs got very sore and tender and just painful and annoying. I had just weaned like a week before this, so there was a couple of thoughts of maybe it's just weaning, but I was pretty certain it wasn't. Like, it felt like period slant pregnancy boobs, and I thought it was too early for my period, so I thought I was pregnant. I legitimately had a couple of thoughts of, is this it? Am I finally pregnant? I took tests, way too many tests, and there was one that I swear was very faintly positive, but it didn't go anywhere, and what do you know? Obviously it wasn't positive. I mean, it could have been a very faint chemical, but I don't think it was. I think I just missed it completely. And I got my period, which is like a bummer, but it's exciting because it means my body is actually reacting and, what's the word? Agreeing, reacting. It's doing something with the metformin I'm on, which is to help my insulin resistance. Apparently there's a link. It's not very well known what the link is and what exactly PCOS is, but apparently there's a link between polycystic ovarian syndrome and insulin resistance, and how it can just throw your whole body out of whack. Obviously, insulin is a hormone. If your cells can't accept the insulin being put out, insulin in your blood rises. Glucose can rise. It can predispose you to diabetes, because if your insulin's rising but your glucose is also rising, your body's producing more and more insulin, and your kidneys, your pancreas burns out, and then you're in trouble because that's diabetes. You have to have insulin injections because your pancreas can no longer produce insulin. It's just one tiny little part of the whole thing. Basically, starting the diabetes drug metformin is meant to help the insulin resistance, which is a slow way of helping all the hormones in my body just fix themselves, balance themselves out, start regulating and doing what they're meant to do. And I didn't think it was working, but apparently it did. So that's crazy. Honestly, I'm a bit judgmental as to whether it was the metformin, whether I did fully have to wean. When I ovulated was the day I stopped weaning, but like, it hadn't even been a day since my last feed yet. It was the day I just decided it was the last feed. So I don't think it's got to do with weaning. I also had a prolactin test, and that didn't show any correlation between weaning and no periods. I mean, breastfeeding and no periods. But I do partially wonder if it's because it was just as I was starting work, and Luke took Hayden all night. So the last couple of weeks is the first time I've ever slept more than like 2 hours at a time since before giving birth to Hayden, if we're being honest, but since Hayden was born. It's some of the best sleeps I've gotten, and I'm wondering if it's the metformin or the sleep that has kick-started my ovulation again. But anyway, that's the exciting update. It means that I'm back at, well, cycle day 2 now, I think. Yeah. But yeah, I'm no longer at day 900 and something of my cycle. Finally back at a normal starting point of a cycle, and yeah, hopefully I ovulate. Like, I'm hoping my cycles go back to a normal person, or at least semi-normal person's cycles, and then I have a chance of, you know, getting pregnant soon. Maybe even in 2 weeks, you never know. Most people ovulate around day 14, so I mean, actually the only time I ever ovulated on day 14 was with Hayden. That's the only time I've ever had a cycle that short, so fingers crossed. Apologies if you don't like period talk, too bad. If you got to this point of the video, then you obviously didn't mind it too much. I do think we need to get rid of the stigma around period talk. It's really, it's difficult to overcome the fear of just how weird it is to talk out loud. I do think we need to normalize just talking about things like this, because otherwise people hide what they're going through, or they don't know what's normal because it's just not spoken about. Anyway, I think Luke has finished putting the kid to sleep, and that's it for the video. Give this a thumbs up if you like the video, hit subscribe if you want to see if I end up ovulating, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye peoples!